Oi, Belcher!
He thinks he can fight like his granddad.
You're dead, Belcher!
Enough! Go on, get you going, or I'll pay a visit to each of your fathers.
In life, the only way to protect yourself is to fight.
You ain't got it in him to do what you did.
Give him time. He's just going to be a prizefighter. Listen to Bill.
Ladies and gentlemen, one Gem Belcher!
More money's on the skinny fella. You'll be a stronger, more experienced fighter just using your noggin. Come and see me. And I'll put you at the top.
Prizefighter is about England's youngest ever heavyweight boxing champion. He came from quite a poor background in Bristol, but he came from a long line of fighters. His grandfather was Jack Slack, who was a champion before him.
Jack Slack's blood, eh?
Look at him, eh? He's a fight.
Throw him up there, lads.
Look at that! Huh? I see you've had some experience.
He is an historical figure. He was a bare-knuckle boxer. It's a small role in the film. I play the grandfather of the film's central character, Jem Belcher.
It's you who decides what kind of man you're going to be. When your grave's filled and your flesh rots away, all you leave behind is your name.
He was blind by the time he was 22 and he died at the age of 30, so he had this kind of whirlwind of a journey and story to him. Very, very interesting individual. He kind of formed the early stages of boxing using his jab and speed and mindset, kind of like the sweet science, as it were, almost like a reminiscence of Muhammad Ali. He was way ahead of his time. He dressed in a very fancy way. He implemented all these scientific methods into boxing, the speed of the jab and just the way you move your feet and your mindset and thinking about movement rather than the size and brute strength of an opponent.
I play William Waugh, ex-fighter, trainer to Jem Belcher. Bill Waugh was quite a good fighter, you know, prolific in his own right, until he met Daniel Mendoza. And I think it sparked something in his life about the art of boxing and what boxing should become. I believe the film is not only a story about the characters in it, but a story about the rebirth of boxing as we kind of know it today. Bill's character had a lot to do with that. Show me your stance. Why you stand? Why didn't you go a little bit on the balls of your feet? That's it. Put your arms up. Right, turn a bit. Lovely. That's it. Look me in the eyes. You see the top of my head? You see my hands? See my feet? Don't look down. Do you see my feet? Yeah. You see the eyes are the windows to a man's soul. You can read him. These ain't no good without this.
It's got a very, very clear central character, a very clear central narrative of rags to riches, but in and around this is the family texture, the texture of his family, of his background, the relationship with his mother, the relationship with his trainer Bill Waugh, who eventually becomes kind of a father figure.
I was recognised on a film which I was working on, who someone thought I was the spitting image of my dad, which I am. My dad was a boxer. In this film I was working on, the individual was reading an article about my dad. Next to the article was this bit on Gem Belcher, which was just completely fascinating. So I went away and started writing the project, started going to the British Library and digging out court records and as much as I could, information, because there's not really much information on him other than bits and pieces in history books and things like Boxiana and you know, sort of court records. The more information I found, the more sort of engrossed I got in the story and found a lot of similarities between myself and the character. He died on my birthday, which is the 30th of July. Same weight, same height, same size as me. Similarities with his mum's name being Mary. My mum's name is Mary. So it was a really interesting journey actually for me to take, stepping into someone which I connected with quite well and honour this character that's just been completely forgotten in history.
Will any other pretender to his throne please step forward?
In our film, we establish his relationship with the people in his life who meant the most to him, which was his mother, Mary Belcher, his grandfather, Jack Slack, and his trainer, Bill Wall.
There's a lot that we've had to sort of improvise about Mary because there was quite a lot that was not known about her other than that she was very religious.
She's such a strong woman, a strong single mother at that time.
There's no male figure here, and so much of what these lads get up to, other than, of course, the grandfather, is down to their mum. She's an amazing, amazing woman.
She's kind of come from a family that have this in their blood. As Jem's mother, she's obviously very concerned that he doesn't end up a casualty of a world that really teeters on the edge of tragedy.
I told you. I don't want him in your road. You stay away from him.
He's a Belcher, Mary. You, me, Jem. We're all cut from the same cloth.
You leave him alone.
I got involved in the project because people that I'd worked with started reaching out to me. Production designer Sonny Klaus, Steve Dent, who was the horse master on Gladiator. It's probably their passion that made me focus on the project.
Being on set and watching Matt go to work, you know, and I have to pick up this great big leather thing, and he's punching away, and the kid can punch. I can tell you, he's been punching me all day, and it's real. There's a reality to it, and we can always tell. Yeah, if it's not right, it takes so much away from the film, gives it another level. You know, for me, when I come to perform, I know I'm in a real situation within our industry, and there's boys there who know how to take a whack, and there's boys who know how to give a whack as well.
Jem, stop, he's gonna kill you.
Showing bare-knuckle boxing for what it is. It was very different to what we have now. It was pre-Marquess of Queensberry rules, so it was a very different mechanics that the boxers used, that the boxers applied when they were fighting. He was known in his day to be quite a forward-thinking boxer, more scientific, using his feet more, using movement more.
You know, a boxing film that's set not in modern day, you know, not in the lights and the glitz and the glamour, because that's usually what it is, right? It's all about the celebrity of boxing, whereas this is a whole different kind of celebrity. It's round the campfire kind of talk. Like the stories that are being told here about the fighters that are here, Tom Molyneux, you know, Jem Belcher, these are people that you've heard of, that you'd have heard of round the campfire, not like you've seen them on TV and know how they fight. You know, you do a film about a well-known boxer, everyone, you know what to expect, how they move and all that stuff. Whereas here, we're bringing it to life for the first time.
It's a terrifically good story, and what's great is that it's so close to Matt Hooking's heart, because it was his idea. He sort of, I think, had discovered this character, that he's playing it with a great gut feeling and a great internal honesty.
I really wanted to go all in and transform myself into a boxer. It's been grueling, it's been very tough. I've broken ribs and tendinitis and broken nose. I've gone through everything in that sense. Just to get the shape right and the movement.
I can feel it on my hips. Yes.
every shot.
See so many things where, you know, people don't have time to prepare or, you know, learn what they need to portray on screen, especially boxing. It's such an art form. I wanted to feel and breathe that every day and just live it as well.
The fight scenes have certainly been challenging. I've not done fight scenes before. This is where you bring in and rely upon the expertise who've coordinated stunt scenes before and fight scenes before. It's very much about the choreography, to capture the choreography of the fight. Similar, I imagine, to the way you shoot dance sequences in musicals. You do bits at a time for a multitude of reasons. And the reason you do bits at a time is because it's very much about the dynamism from one shot to the next, and in this case, from one punch to the next.
We wanted to make it as real as possible, and the best boxing film that's ever been made.
Yeah, I think when people see it, honestly, there's nothing in the way. The realism, when there is real hits in it, the way you see it as well. I mean, you hurt your hand,
yeah.
He hurt your thing, you done ribs. It's been so realistic, and it's like a real fight. That main fight's like nothing else I've ever seen. It's going to be amazing when people watch it, and it will definitely come across.
We spent 4 or 5 days filming that, and it actually felt like a real fight because I think I cracked one of my ribs, or 2 of my ribs, during the fight. I can't say enough about Matt in terms of
energy.
His boxing. He's only been learning boxing for a year and a half, maybe. He was in there, and I was hitting him with everything I've got, and he was asking me for more. And he's not very well. And in the head, I think, a little bit. He's got something missing. But to be a boxer, if I'm honest with you need to have that, and he has got that. So I'd have him in my gym any day of the week.
But for me, it's been fascinating because I think fight scenes actually is one of the most cinematic things you can shoot. A chase scene, a musical number scene with people dancing, a fight scene is very, very cinematic because it's movement within movement. Cinema itself is all about movement. Fighting and fight coordination is all about movement. So it makes it a very complex, dynamic approach to working, which I've enjoyed very thoroughly.
I play a character by the name of Lord Rushworth. He's something of an entrepreneur, opportunist. He encourages the sport of boxing, earns some money through fighters and the setting up of events and what have you. The characters came in and they were well drawn, concisely drawn and well drawn, and you saw the journey of the protagonist. And this particular story is obviously set in the Georgian period, and it has to do with boxing, but fundamentally it's about how an individual goes forward in the world in the face of adversity and achieves things and usurps all the obstacles and finds the delights and joys of that journey, and then of course runs into a bit of trouble here and there and falls down the other side of the mountain and has to pick themselves up and attempt to climb back to the top again. Things that we do in our everyday lives.
Magnificent display of pugilism.
Thank you, my lord, and for inviting us into your wonderful home.
Lord Ashford, which is my name, was a very rich man who was into sporting promotion. It looks a bit like this, but normally he has, the old wig, which I'm not wearing it now because it's terribly uncomfortable. Have to stick it on with toupee tape and all that.
In the main fight, I had to learn a little bit of acting, and the cars have just been, from day one, have been fantastic. My nerves sort of went from here to down here to how relaxed they made me feel. Just beautiful people, and I'm so thankful to every single one of them.
Cast and crew members have been terrific. We have one of the greatest casts assembled, I think, in many years for a film of this nature. Martin Shokash, Jodie May, Ray Winstone, Matt Hookings in the lead role, Stephen Burkoff. We have a fantastic cast, and the thing that cast members like that of that experience bring is realistic, credible human behaviour. One of our cast said to me, you know, Daniel, if I don't understand why this character is saying this thing or doing this thing, then there's no way the audience will understand. And experienced actors will take a script and they will kind of sort of tailor it to suit, not to suit themselves, they'll tailor it so in a way so that they can feel they're inhabiting their way through the role, that they're not just sort of delivering lines by rote, but they've found a way to naturally become this person. And it's really illuminated and made the whole world a real living organism, as I said earlier, through which Gem Belcher's story is making its way. It's been a fantastic experience.
Each cast member just seemed to fit so perfectly into the roles, and all they're doing is elevating it each step. They're just bringing it, making their own, and just elevating it, and it's just popping. It's just been so wonderful.
There's such a talented cast and crew. It's been a real pleasure.
Is there anyone you want to single out for sort of special recognition?
Anyone who you don't want to work with again?
Yeah. Yeah. That was directed towards me.
My brother.
Yeah.
Hit me in the eye.
Yeah, Ricky.
That's it.
Matt, I've known for a very, very long time. Working on a project that is someone's baby. It's always nice when you're doing a passion project because the level and care is just that bit higher because it means something.
Yeah, he has worked so hard on this story, and to take on a film that he's written, play the leading role and produce it is sort of something I wouldn't even want to attempt myself. So I'm just like full of admiration. I just think it's absolutely brilliant.
I knew about it well before it was a script at all, because I knew Matt Hookings. He made this short film, 15-minute film, which was extremely good. And he told me then about wanting to do this story, told me all about it. I said, well, that's an exciting story. He said, yes, if we ever get it done, you'll be in it. And I said, oh, thanks very much. Not believing a word of it, of course. And boy, oh boy, did he do it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm playing a cameo in Matt's script, and I'm really honoured to be doing so.
It's always been a pattern of mine to work in different sized movies, from smaller independent films to gigantic studio films. But I do always remember how I came through the business myself, you know. My mum and dad were location caterers, so I did my first job as an actor when I was 6 years old. But all of the films I did initially were low budget, small independent films with obsessed young filmmakers. So I know that world and I know that feeling.
It was a struggle to get off the grind. It's definitely been the most challenging experience of my life. Sales agents and distributors didn't understand it at first, didn't understand what we're creating. We're making an Origins boxing film that's never been set this far back, so there's nothing to compare it to. But as soon as Ray Winstone, Martin, Jodie, Julian, Stephen, all those great casts that we have on board, as soon as they joined the project, it triggered the finance, it triggered the backing and belief in the film.
You kind of cross your fingers, hope the script's good. It kind of does justice to the story itself and what it's about. And it kind of ticked the box, you know. It was what I was hoping it to be and much more in a way.
The creative side has been amazing. I mean, we've kept the true aesthetic of the time, but also made it very real. Not everything is perfect. Not everything is crystal clean. It's mucky, it's dirty, it's raw, it's gritty, and that combined with the violence is brilliant. I mean, you know, we've got all these fantastic costumes that have all been custom made. It's just been absolutely wonderful.
You'll sort of stick your head into an era that you're not familiar with, probably in a context that's not usually explored. Here you have this bestial, primal aspect, and you see the journey of the sport, the origins of the sport and the development of the sport becoming more like a science and the art of boxing as opposed to the equivalent of picking up a stone and smashing someone, you know, in a cave over the head with it.
I guess it's what you would call a small film, but when you look through the camera, it's got an epic feel to it.
You get bare knuckle fights, you get the early formings of boxing fights, but then you also get a family story and you get a redemption story.
You haven't got to be a boxing fan to like this film. This is going to appeal to everybody.
Anybody who relates to a movie where you see a person trying to be the best at their job, the best at what they do in life, is going to relate this movie and feel very strongly towards Jem, as well as being very fascinated by the fact that this is a true story and not been done before.
There were elements that I thought of this story that made it very contemporary and relevant, and that felt very fresh, particularly this very strong relationship between a mother and her son, which I think is so unusual to see at the centre of a boxing film.
I know people always do this when films are being made. Oh, it's wonderful, it looks wonderful in the rushes and all that. But the feeling on this film is very positive indeed, very positive.
I think audiences are going to love it. I think it's a period drama about a forgotten hero in time that explores the birth of a sport which is, you know, so popular all over the world. I mean, boxing is the universal sport that everyone understands.
The man who punches with both hands, that's the fighter who's going to win. Enough! Boxing's an art, it's a craft. Boxers, like writers, stand alone.
Yeah, I'll say we can sign out with this one now. Yeah.
You're gonna sign it out, Bill or Ricky?
No, it's Rickabilly.
No, it's Bill or Ricky.
No, it ain't. It's Rickabilly. It ain't going to work like Rickabilly, Bill. It's not going to work like that, mate. Get out of it. Anyway, signing out. Much love.